everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Text 10 podcast. My name is Keith Hevlin. I have with me Clay Blair. And today, I want to first thing, before we even thank our sponsors, what I want to do is let Clay show off the t-shirt that he remembered to wear this time from his intramural water polo something.
Don't mess it up. It's intramural inner tube water polo.
Okay, so please share. So yes, round of applause. I wish we had like the technology to like do clapping, but yay, good job. That's very strange.
I've got pictures of that team, and I've seen them recently. Maybe
That's
we'll
really
show
funny.
them sometime.
We'll have to share them on social media.
I don't know where they are.
Yeah. So on the previous episode that we recorded, we talked about you like shooting the gun and cutting your face. We are going to share those, the videos and the picture of you and your brother with your bleeding foreheads on social media, because he does as well. So that's awesome. But yes. Okay. So back to our sponsor, Jeff and team over at Rat Hole Drilling. Thank you again for being the sponsors of the podcast. We love it. It's awesome. You guys are amazing. So, all right, let's jump into it. So what I was talking to my kids about this morning on the way to school was spring break. So spring break is next week here in Corpus Christi, and they're trying to figure out, what are we doing? Well, the last 2 years we have gone to Lake Charles, Louisiana, of all places, but it's because where they play the Southland Conference Division I basketball for the University of Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the Islanders. I don't know why I'm wearing 2 episodes in a row Islander stuff, but I'm going to the game tonight. So, but anyway, both the men and the women made it into the tournament. We're going to watch them. We have for the last 2 years. And the last years, one of the teams has made it to March Madness. Okay, so the first year, my wife and I went with the men. We went to somewhere in Ohio. They won that game. They put us on a plane with the team, and we went down to Alabama, where we played Alabama. Like 2 hours after the game was over, we're getting on a plane, right? Incredible experience. Like, huge Tennessee fan. I don't think the University of Tennessee is going to let me fly with the team. Like, I could be wrong.
Just takes money.
Yeah, it just takes a lot more money than I have, right? It just takes money. So anyway, so we got to do that. Deanna and I got to do that 2 years ago. And then last year, Deanna didn't get to go, but the kids and I got to go with the women's team out to LA, right? So we went to LA. They played USC. Actually played pretty well against USC. Juju, I can't remember her last name, but she's a fantastic basketball player. She's just a sophomore this year. She's going to be ridiculous. But we did very well. But that got me thinking, like, okay, hey, if they go again this year, they're like, so are we going to March Madness? So they have to get to skip school. So that's why part of the reason they want to go, right, is because they get to skip school. But then also it's cool because, like, you know, again, all the players in the team know Graham and Annabelle. They know all the players. So they're kind of like their own, they think they're rock stars. Sure. It got me thinking about, like, what my life was as a kid. And my life was not bad. I went and watched some basketball games as a kid. It turns out not a single player on the University of Tennessee basketball team, men or women, knew who I was. I did get to go on the court one time, but that's about as close as I got. I did not get to go to March Madness. I did not get to go watch the SEC tournament of any sort. We didn't live that life. So it's like trying to compare what my kids' lives versus what I grew up with. It's just, it's night and day. And which, I mean, is good, right? My parents, bless them. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for the vast majority of our childhood. My dad worked for the post office. They managed their money so well, down to the penny. They knew exactly how much they had at any given time, what was going where, you know, saved money for emergencies. But we always went on vacation. That was one thing they saved for. We always went on vacation. And, you know, even when it was just my sister Christy and I, and then as they added adopted siblings and sometimes foster siblings, we still went, and they made it work. We always went to the beach for the most part. But it was a different world than what my kids live in.
It's flying around with college basketball teams.
You know, I was trying to think of the first time, like, I literally was thinking about this the other day. Like, when did I fly on a plane for the first time? Like, Annabelle, she flew on a plane when she was probably 10 weeks old, because we had to go out to Vegas for work, and we had a traveling nanny that went with us. I think it might have been, oh no, I know what it was. I flew from Indiana. This is when we were still living in Indiana. But my grandfather got cancer, and they thought he was going to die very soon. So they flew myself down and my sister down separately by ourselves, right? No help. I was 5 years old. Flew me down from Indiana to Tennessee. where I got to hang out with them and spend some time with them. That was the first memory I have of my grandparents. But other than that, I think the next time I flew was probably when I was going into ninth grade and I went to Japan.
No kidding.
I don't know if remember flying much, but my kids, it's just a common occurrence for them.
Jet
So
setters.
yeah, like, I mean, what's it like to live that kind of life? But yeah, it just kind of got me thinking about that. So I guess my question to you is, what was vacation or travel like for you when you were a kid? Because mine was not that.
We we would do something. The couple of things that I remember as a kid, we would go to a water park called Schlitterbahn.
Okay.
Anybody in Texas knows this place.
Yep.
Family would come and we'd rent a cabin there on campus, I guess. And
Yep.
what I remember is my brother and I would sneak out in the middle of not the middle of the night, but after the park is basically closed, there's still, you could get in slides and kind of ride them down. We would do that.
Would they not be dry? Like they don't turn the pumps off?
I don't really remember, but yeah. But maybe down at the bottom with
Right.
splash water or something. But I
Right.
remember thinking, oh my gosh, me and my brother are doing bad things here. This is cool.
Breaking the Schlitterbahn. Schlitterbahn's in New Braunfels, right?
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, that was all there was, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, there was Astroworld, I guess, in
Okay.
Houston. We went there a few times when I was little, but our Schlitterbahn, and then we had a deer lease outside of Uvalde, and
Okay.
we would go there. It was a year-long deer lease. You could come and go as you want.
Sure.
We'd go there on spring breaks and then in the summer a couple of times too. That was pretty well our vacations as when I was little.
Sure. So I'm assuming you did like SeaWorld. Where was SeaWorld around when you were a kid?
Yeah, once. I remember going, me and cousin Mona went to SeaWorld once.
You gonna say hi to cousin Mona?
Hi, Mona. What the thing that I really remember at Schlitterbahn, hopefully others will remember this, they had a spring-fed pool, cement pool, but it was spring-fed. Cold. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
So cold.
Yeah.
It's so nice. But it was,
Freezing.
you couldn't be in it
Yeah.
for real long. It was just cold.
Yeah. Yeah. We took the kids up there. Gosh, they would have been 6 and 7 probably. And we did the whole Schlitterbahn thing, which, we had Schlitterbahn here in my backyard for a while before they knocked it down. But that's all I knew about Schlitterbahn, because it was not super impressive compared to the real Schlitterbahn. But yeah, we took them up there when they were like 6 and 7. And we also floated a river. I don't know which river. No idea what the name of the river was. Maybe.
Where?
Yeah. Up in the same area. I don't know exactly where, but okay, sure.
Yeah.
My wife would know. But yeah, so Schlitterbahn though was awesome. Like I can imagine as a kid, that place would be unbelievable.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's huge. You could just get lost for the entire day.
The funny thing is, it wasn't our idea. Dad loved it, and
Oh,
that's
that's funny.
that's where Dad wanted to go.
Oh, that's
Sure.
funny.
Heck yeah.
That's interesting. So we normally went to like a beach, not all the time, but we normally went to a beach. Like we went to Treasure Island several times. Went to like Pawleys Island, which is right next to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. Because we're coming out of East Tennessee, so Florida was kind of the place to go. I know we did Disney World one year. I can't remember. Yeah, we went as a family one time. I hated it. It was hot. It's a lot of walking. We took the kids in October one year. Again, probably when they were 6 or 7. And it was much better as an adult, actually. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not like a Disney adult, because that's just too much for me. Plus, I mean,
I don't know that we would be friends if you were.
yeah, right. Yeah. Could you imagine? Hang on. Anybody who's watching this podcast, imagine if Clay said that he was a Disney adult. That would be the funniest thing. Like, if you'd been like, why? I might have been like, whoa, okay. I don't know about this. Gonna cut this podcast short. But that would have been funny. But yeah, like it was fun. We had a good time. But my gosh, I don't even want to know how much I spent. Like it was an ungodly amount of money. So we went
I'm sure.
during COVID, like it was still COVID times. So like outside you didn't have to wear a mask, but like inside you had to wear a mask. So they have like these lines where you're kind of outside, but there's like a shelter thing above your head so you don't get wet if it rains. And they would like make you put your mask on if you were in that. And I'm like, but I can stick my head out of the window. Like my head's outside right now. So that was interesting. But and like the kids couldn't like touch any of the characters that were like dressed up like Mickey Mouse or anything like that.
Absurd.
Oh, it was nuts. So the only way that you could, because they weren't like walking around the park like they normally do. So you had to like pay to go to these like breakfast, lunch, or dinners where like Mickey Mouse would come out and you could take a picture with him, but you couldn't be like closer than like 4 feet. So you're kind of with Mickey, but he's actually like 4 feet behind you. In this one, we're having this breakfast, and all of us are there. My parents went with me, brother, and then Deanna's mom. I bet we probably spent like $800 or $900 on a breakfast so we could go do this. It was absurd.
Really?
Yes, it was absurd. And this little 2-year-old sees like Goofy come running out or something like that and goes taking off. There were like 3 people that worked there that started screaming at the kid to get away from Goofy. I'm like, how much damage is this kid really going to do to Goofy in his
how much damage did we do to that kid with putting up with all that?
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode about how far behind our kids are, because like we put our kids into Sylvan to get them caught up and then where they were supposed to be because they got so far behind because of COVID. It was wow. I feel terrible for people who can't afford to do that for their kids because my kids were very far behind. Because I'm not a teacher, as it turns out. Like I'm just like I cannot teach my kids; they won't listen. But yeah. So back to vacations. So as a kid, what was your favorite vacation?
Well, we'd also go skiing in the winter. Not a lot, but I don't know, 3 or 4 times growing up.
Where'd you guys go? West?
We would go, the first time was Steamboat in Colorado.
Okay. And
then as a church group, I think there was a place called Monarch that we went a couple of times.
Okay.
At some point I found Keystone, and that's my place. That's my mountain.
Yeah. That's interesting. I went when I was 18 years old, went to Keystone, and it's the only time I've ever been. It was the second time I'd ever been skiing, and I was athletic enough and dumb enough to go, I can do a black diamond, and just did it. Just did it like it was nothing. Very strange.
Good. That's a tough place for your second time.
My first time was back east. So there's like Sugar Mountain in North Carolina. So it's, not steep at all. And it was like towards spring break. So it was like super just slushy. I mean, it's 65 degrees. I was wearing sweatpants and like a long sleeve shirt. And I didn't want to fall because I was like, everybody who was falling was getting completely soaked. Right. So this would have been back in 1997 or 98. The gear that I could afford was not super waterproof. So like that wasn't going to work. Plus it was hot. So you couldn't actually wear your actual winter stuff. So I was like, I don't want to fall. Like this sucks. All these people are getting soaked. So I just I never learned how to do the pie or the pizza thing. Because
just go,
swallow them on down. Like, because the girl so it was my girlfriend, my high school girlfriend taught me how to ski, and she had been skiing out in Colorado since she was a little kid. So I just did what she did. I was like, here we go. So this is how you do it, I guess. So yeah, I never learned how to do the whole pizza thing. And when I would try to do it out in Colorado, I would end up somehow spinning around backwards and going down the mountain backwards, that was kind of scary. I couldn't, like one foot would dig in too hard and spin me around. It was awkward. So I just stopped doing that. I was like, well, okay, I can't do that. So, but yeah, so I think my favorite trip as a kid, when one summer, this is before John lived with us. So I would have been probably 9. We went to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and then we went to somewhere outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. It was a 2-week vacation. We went to we stayed in a condominium in one place, stayed in a condominium in another place, and I just had a freaking blast because I got to fish tons and tons and tons. My parents just let me go fish whenever I wanted to. There was a pond, it was absolutely it was amazing. It was just one of
Really?
those times. Oh yeah, I mean, I thought it was, I thought it was cool because I was 9 years old and they just let me go do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
So of course this was, in the 80s. So like, I don't know. I don't know that adults knew better to not do that.
Sure.
But yeah. So that would have been my favorite as a kid by far. Was just the freedom to just go fish and have a good time. It was awesome.
What's an adventure that you did?
An adventure that I did. So I don't know that I've done I've told you, I've been to Zimbabwe
Right.
multiple times. That was mission trip stuff, and we always went and did something while we were there.
Yeah.
We went to Monopools, um, which is a national park there, and basically you're in and amongst all the wildlife. Like it can eat you, right? We had a
Mhm.
lion chase a warthog through the camp while we were there, like sitting there. A lioness just took through. We had an elephant come through one time. We tried to walk up on a pride of lions. That was pretty cool. But I'm trying to think, like the coolest non-missionary trip adventure I did was fly fishing for sharks, for sure.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
Yeah. That was, I mean,
Yeah.
that was unbelievable. Like it was just so cool to be able to catch something that big on a fly rod. It was
We
just
need to tell that story.
Did I not tell it on here?
Well, I don't think it's the one that we recorded.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so fly fishing for sharks. So when I became the GM of what was at the time JD Bauer in Knoxville, eventually we switched it to Smart out of Knoxville. It was a car dealership. I was a service manager, became the GM, and one of the things that I negotiated in my my promotion was a fly fishing trip out in San Diego. So my boss Vince Keller and I went out there. We were going out to Vegas for a some convention out there for the car dealership. So we flew into San Diego, and the next morning go out. It was so cold there was ice on the boat, which is allegedly never happens, but there was ice on the boat, so it's freezing cold. I was like, I don't know about this, but we go out and we're trying to catch makos, but they're like, this time of year it's kind of tough to catch makos. We're probably gonna catch a blue shark. So you're fishing with this fly that's like 12, 14 inches
For sure.
long. It's enormous, right? So the guy, he goes, well, I'm gonna like, we get out in the middle of nowhere, right? You're just sitting there, like you can't see anything, you're just hanging out. He goes, okay, I'm gonna chum up now. So he takes like this little bottle of oil that's like seal oil and does like 5 or 6 drops in the wire. And he's like, okay, now we just gotta wait. I'm like, the sharks, like that's it? Like that's all we're doing? And yeah, so we didn't wait too long. It was probably like 30 minutes or so, 30, 45 minutes. And up comes a shark. And literally, I just, again, never fly fish before ever. And I'm just like trying to put this huge fly right in front of it. And I land it just past his head and pull it right back in front of it, nails it. And then, I mean, the fight was on, but you're using that little nub of a reel, and you're like, oh my gosh, it took forever to get that fish in. It was about 6 feet, 125 pounds. I was the only one that they had some friends come as well. They were on another boat. I was the only one who caught a fish that day. So
I was going to say, and that's why I wanted you to tell the story, is that doesn't happen.
No.
You can't get on a boat, grab a fly rod, go hook a shark real quick.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. That's
No.
amazing.
It was incredible. And I have pictures somewhere. I'll have to try to find them. I mean, it was an experience that I'll probably never do again. It'll be unlikely that I'll go fly fishing out in San Diego again. But I mean, I can't afford to fly fish because the gear's so dang expensive. But yeah, like, I mean, it was something that I'll never forget. And that shark was so blue. I mean, it's like neon blue. And again, if I can find this picture, like the guy takes it of me, like bent over, like we didn't pick it up in the boat or anything, but I'm like bent over and it's like right here in the water next to me. And I mean, it's just like neon blue. Beautiful fish. Is unreal. So that would probably be my best adventure. Like, I mean, because that was just it's what I love doing. I love fishing. Everywhere I go, I would like to try to fish if I can. Right? If there's water, like Zimbabwe, I had to fish everywhere I went. Like, give me a fishing rod. Just let me see if I can catch something. Caught a tigerfish. You know what those look like?
I think so.
I mean, they're freaking nuts, man. It's like, it's got the mouth, that like super bony mouth, like tarpon. So they're really like you get a ton on, but you don't land very many of them, just because they throw the hook. That was also, top 3 fishing experiences ever.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. What about you? What's your favorite adventure?
Chase and I went to Alaska. My brother Chase, and he called me one day out of the blue. It says, "Hey, you want to go to Alaska?" I said, "Sure." "What are you talking about?" "Well, one of my clients has a cousin, I think, that is going to retire from the Forest Service in Alaska, and he wants to go on this trip." I said, "Okay. You know this guy?" "No, like I said, he's a cousin of my client." "Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay."
Sure.
So, I said, "Sure." So what it ended up being, it was supposed to be a caribou hunt. And
Okay.
so we get there. The first thing I remember, as the plane was flying into Fairbanks, we broke through the clouds, and I looked down out of that plane. I was like, my gosh, this place looks rough. This is wild out here.
Yeah.
And so we get there, we meet these people that we're going on this trip with, spend the night at their house, and head up that, whatever that road, that the frozen trucker road.
Okay.
We start heading up north, and ended up in one plane flying to an airport to get into a float plane and fly into this lake. And then for, I don't know, 7 or 8 days, we were in rafts on this river. When the float plane left us, he said, "Okay, I'll see y'all in," I think it was a week. "See you in a week, and don't be late either."
Right.
So we were to float down this river into a town where he was going to meet us. And at some point, we were supposed to run into a bunch of caribou. We didn't. We saw some wolves. Wolves are big.
They're
big
way bigger than you
animals.
think they are,
It's
right?
unreal how big those things
Yeah.
are. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Saw some grizzly bears. Didn't get eaten by grizzly bears.
Solid.
Yeah. It was fun. Caught some cool fish. In fact, that picture right there,
Oh, that's there.
yeah, that's
I
in
think it's
Alaska.
huge.
Weather changed quickly. It was middle of September, I think. And the first morning we were on that lake, I went swimming. And then by the end of that week, my gosh, it got cold.
I was
You
gonna
didn't
say,
even
that
see
picture
it come
wasn't
through. Yeah,
right.
no, we got cold.
Right. That's funny. So yeah, I've never been to Alaska. I would love to go. I've never seen a wild wolf, but I've heard that they're enormous. The other thing that is way bigger than what you think they are is hyenas. Those
Really?
things are way bigger than you think they are. So like, like the prototypical like German Shepherd, how it's got like shorter back legs and the front kind of like it kind of angles down.
Built like dirt bikes.
Right. That is what a hyena looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's just way bigger than what you ever think it is. And so this is not necessarily an adventure, but one time, so we're at monopools. So at night you put up this electric fence, right? Run off of 2-car batteries, because you're trying to keep things from coming in, because like the hyenas there are smart enough to know that they can come in and kill you while you sleep. And they actually are also smart enough, allegedly, the stories go, to know which side of you is facing which side of the tent, and they will go for your head through the tent, and like, because they have like super strong jaws, and they'll just pop your head. Done, right? Like a grape. So it's dark out. John D, who's the leader of this mission trip, and he grew up in Zimbabwe. Great man. He has told everybody, don't go outside the electric fence unless you go with someone that knows what they're doing. But everybody stay inside, because like there's wild animals out here. We don't want anybody to die. So I'm standing there inside the camp, and I hear what I think is girls talking, but it's like way far away. And like the sun's not quite down yet, but it's dark. Like it's definitely dark, but you can see like just the little glimmer of light. Okay. And we're camping on the edge of the Zambezi River, right? So there's us, the Zambezi River, super big, and then Zambia on the other side. Okay. So in the Zambezi River, there are 2 things that will likely kill you. One is a crocodile. The other is a hippo, also known as the deadliest animal in Africa, right? So I hear these girls and it sounds like they're over by the edge of the river. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I dive into my tent and I'm looking for this. I had this huge spotlight that I've brought with me. I can't find it, can't find it, can't find it, can't find it. Finally get it, pull it out, turn it on, and I go to jump over the electric fence, making sure not to electrocute myself. And as I'm pulling up the flashlight to like point to where I think these girls are, I see two pairs of eyes that are like 50 yards behind where the girls actually are. And my first reaction is just like an idiot is to start screaming like a crazy person, just running at these things to see if it will scare them. And luckily it does. And they take off and they run probably 100 yards, turn around, just like, look. And the girls turn around and look at me, and one of them has a toothbrush hanging out of her mouth, and they went to brush their teeth on the edge of the Zambezi River in the dark. And I was just like, what part of don't go outside the fence, you might die is, and I'm like screaming at them. I'm screaming at them, screaming like, come on, come on, come on, come on. And they're like, what? Like, we're just brushing our teeth. What? And then finally I point back over to where the hyenas are, and those girls, when I point it back to them, they're white. I mean, they're this white, and they come running as fast as they possibly can. I mean, it was intense, but God, it was awesome. Like, because everything there can kill you. Like, just like I said before, everything there can kill you. So yeah, that was, I guess technically that was an adventure. It was just trying to keep the girls from getting eaten, but yeah.
I'd be more concerned about the crocodile jumping out of the river to get them.
I won't tell you about my encounter on this episode, my encounter with the hippopotamus, but I was within probably about 15 feet of one on the bank of that river. It was, wow. That's another story for another time, but yeah, it was incredible. But yeah, so yeah, just the size of these animals, it's just, you see them on TV and it's like, that's not that big. Hyenas are pretty big.
Because every time they show a hyena, it's standing next to a lion, or if you're trying to fight off a lion. So you don't, I didn't know they were big.
You don't see the scale. Yeah. I mean, I thought this thing was going to be like a little bit bigger than my dog, like not that big. And then I see it, I'm like, oh, that is not the size of my dog. That's a big animal. Like, I wonder how much they weigh. So spotted hyena, 98 to 140 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big. They're really big. So, but, so okay. Talking about trips, talking about adventures. What is like a dream trip for you, do you think?
I'd love to ski in Switzerland, whether it's the Alps or whatever.
We have said that we're going to go do that this winter. 2025, 2026.
A little late. Oh, you are?
No, 2025, 2026. Like, because if you look it up, the cost to go out to like Keystone or go out to Lake Tahoe, it's cheaper.
I know.
Even the flights all the way over there, staying over there. Yeah, it's cheaper. And like, I mean, I just think it'd be incredible to go ski the Alps, right? I mean, how many people
just saying you did it?
Right. I mean, yeah. It might not be awesome, but at least you say, hey, like I flew all the way over there and skied the Alps, and it was interesting, if nothing else. I mean, it's beautiful, right? It's beautiful. But no, we're trying to figure out where we're gonna go skiing next year. But yeah, we talked about the Alps for sure.
The hardest place I've skied, Jackson, Wyoming. My gosh, it is tough. It's a tough mountain, and you're gonna be in a blizzard. There's very, very few of those bluebird days, they call them.
Yeah.
It's a tough place.
So not ideal to take two kids?
I mean, they need to be able to ski incredibly well.
Yeah.
To do the whole mountain.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about it in the podcast, but you're the self-proclaimed best skier in South Texas.
In South Texas, that's right.
Yeah. So is there anybody that gives you any competition, or it's not even close?
Well, I had to learn. I had to learn to ski like this. My two friends that I would go with skied incredibly well, and I couldn't keep up with them, and so I just had to figure out how to do it, and I got pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean. That's how I ended up in Keystone. Again, my high school girlfriend went out there with them, with their family for Christmas, and it would have been 98, Christmas in 98. And yeah, like everybody in their family knew how to ski. Because they had lived out
Mhm.
there. So everybody
Right.
knew how to ski. And here we go. Like, I just had to keep up with these people. So just point your skis downhill and go.
Yeah. That's right.
Like, I mean, that's all you can do.
Mhm.
I'll never forget Christmas morning, 1998. There was a bunch, it was like tons of fresh powder up there at Keystone, and they had just opened up a couple of runs. And that was the first black diamond I ever went on. And it was so much powder, and no one had, we were the first people that were on it. It was unreal until she fell and then lost her ski in the woods, and I had to go like swim through the snow
Mhm.
to get that ski back. That was not fun. And then I couldn't stand back up because it was so deep. Like I was like up to here in powder.
I'm not a powder guy, and I'm not a trees guy either. Give me the groomed, steep,
Really
fast. Yeah.
interesting. So so
Yeah.
Deanna and I go. Deanna is a very good skier. She does not like to ski fast, right? But she's not
Okay.
going to fall over ever. She's controlled. She can go slower. Like I can't go as slow as she goes sometimes. I would actually fall over going as slow as what she goes. Like I don't know how she does it. So we'll go down together. She stays on the slope. I take off into the trees. I want the powder. I want the trees. I want to jump
Really
off of
was-
something. Like so I go off in the trees and come back out, flying back out onto the slope, going on the other side. So she's slowly going down, and I'm just zipping back and forth. So that's interesting. So you just want the groom slope, no
Yeah.
extracurricular activities?
Put a jump in there. I don't care about that. I like jumping. Um, but yeah, I don't like powder. I don't like trees.
Interesting.
It it's been I don't know. I haven't skied in probably 3 years.
Sure.
Uh, but I watched some Keystone videos on YouTube the other day. It looks like everybody on the mountain has some kind of camera that they're
Yep.
filming themselves on.
100%. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, everybody is. So, we normally go to like South Lake Tahoe, and yeah, everybody over there does. And it just gets so crowded. That's the other thing is I feel like, and maybe my memory is wrong, but I feel like the slopes at South Lake Tahoe are much more narrow than what they were at Keystone. And it just makes me nervous to take my kids further up them. Like for me, that's fine. I'm not going to fall off the mountain. If I do, that's my own problem, right? But yeah, it's like, especially when they were younger, because gosh, it's been 2 or 3 years, so they would have been like 7 and 8. Yeah, taking a 7 or 8-year-old up the mountain and then having to go down these little bitty narrow things. You're like, hey, come over here with me. Stay on this side over here. You're making me nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's but yeah, skiing is fun. So did your parents ski, or you just went with friends?
Yes. Dad did. Mom also did, but she had a leg problem at
Okay.
one time and had to retire her skiing career. But how I learned to ski was Dad kind of having me between his legs and guiding me around the mountain. And at some point I said, okay, I got this, and
That's funny.
took off. I don't ever remember doing ski school.
Oh,
But
we did ski school with both of them. The last time we went out, they did ski school. Annabelle, super light on her feet, super athletic, no problem. Graham, very athletic, not light on his feet at all. I mean,
Really?
it's like a freaking lumberjack, man, like a tank. And he just couldn't get it. So we went up like their version of a bunny slope there, and Deanna came down with Annabelle. They get down. It took me probably 45 minutes to come like 300, 400 yards with him.
Oh, wow.
Trying to keep him vertical the entire time. And it was hysterical. And then, so the next day we go over, and there's just this little magic carpet ride thing. And we probably did that like 15 times. And I thought he was going to murder me, but I was like, hey, you're going to get this, because like, you're going to be miserable if everyone else in the family is skiing and you're not. And then finally it just clicked. Like literally one time we went down like this itty bitty, it's like this bump. You just go off this bump. And he's like, oh no, I got it. So we went up the mountain, no problem since. So it's pretty fun watching that happen. Completely different than my experience of just go. This is how you do it. Just figure it out. But yeah, that was stuff that, I had friends growing up that did quite a bit of skiing, and we just couldn't afford it. My parents, they had never skied. They couldn't afford to ski because skiing's expensive, man, especially out in
It hasn't
Keystone.
gotten any better. Yeah, that's my one complaint is
It's so
so
expensive.
expensive now.
Yeah, there's a place in Montana I really wanted to go check out because I'd never been to Montana. It's called like White Lake or something like that. And it's supposed to be pretty kid friendly, but getting there is like takes like a day and a half to get there because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna also talk about Taos, and that's what I was gonna lead with. Taos is a cool place.
is it?
It's kind of difficult to get to.
Is it? Where do you fly
I mean,
into?
what I would do is fly into Albuquerque and then rent a car, and I mean it's, I don't know, 2 hours once you do that. But flying in and out of Corpus makes things a little difficult
Makes things
sometimes.
so tough. Yeah, it
It's
makes things
hard.
so tough.
It's
Like,
hard.
I mean, you're stopping more than once.
Yeah, and it may take you 24 hours to get back.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
But I also don't want to drive to San Antonio and then have a 2-hour car ride when I'm done with this trip, you know?
Yeah, we normally, for skiing, because of the way it is with Tahoe, we end up driving up to San Antonio, and it sucks. You get back and you're like, now I gotta drive
Nope.
2.5 hours back to the
Not
island.
done yet.
That
Yeah.
sucks. Like, you
Not
thought you were
done.
done, you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to think what my like dream trip would be. And I don't know, like, obviously having kids, everything changes, right? Before I would have told you been some crazy adventure stuff. Like your Alaska trip to me sounds like it'd be fantastic. And I think that would be incredible to take Graham on. Annabelle would hate her life. Not a chance in the world. 0% chance. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think like some sort of like private island type, not private, but like smaller island type deal where everyone could have fun, could do some fishing, could do some, a lot of outdoor activities. That to me would be probably ideal. So that everybody in the family gets to experience it. Because Graham and I are the only ones that really like fishing. Gianna will go. We went fishing in Puerto Rico for tarpon, and she kicked my butt. I mean, it was bad. Like, it was embarrassing. Good God. Like, I could not get a single one all the way to the boat. They all just kept coming off.
No,
And
we
she's like, this isn't hard. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they just stay on the hook.
Do it like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not holding your mouth right. Like, whatever. Stop. Just stay up in the front of the boat. Yeah, I think something like that would be a lot of fun. If I was going by myself or just me and Graham, I think an Alaska trip would be unreal. Again, it's the wildness. It's the of the place, right?
It's just crazy. It's crazy wild.
Yeah. And that's what I try to explain to people about Zimbabwe too, is like, it's wild.
I'm sure. Yeah,
like,
I'm sure that's right.
You're in and amongst so many things that can kill you, right?
Mhm.
Even though like a hippo doesn't eat you, it can still kill you. Buffalo, Cape Buffalo is not going to eat you, but it's that tall.
It will kill you.
It will kill you. It will easily kill you. So it was, but yeah, it's cool. I don't know. I think it's like, that's like the epitome of being like a man, like just like the masculinity of just diving into it. Like, oh no, we're allowed to talk about that again. We're allowed to talk about men being men. But like the masculinity of just like everything out here, everything you touch can kill you. And just the rawness of nature is just, it's something to be experienced for sure. If you've never done it, it's awesome.
We had the electric fence thing around us too.
Oh, did you?
Bears, wolves down, yeah.
Yeah. We had one of the girls that kept asking, well, I don't understand why we need an electric fence. I don't know why. I understand why you need an electric fence. Everybody like, hey, if you're gonna go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, don't forget there's an electric fence. You gotta step over this electric fence. Otherwise, you're going to shock the crap out of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Guess who's the only person that electrocuted themselves?
You.
No, the girl that kept asking, I don't understand why we need this electric fence. Oh. She was so obsessed over it. Like, so obsessed. Asking, talking about it. And we're down fishing on the Zambezi, and all of a sudden I hear, oh. Like, she fell onto it and couldn't get off. Like, it just kept shocking her. Oh my God. It was absolutely hysterical. I mean, I felt bad for her, but it was really, after she was okay, it was very funny that, like, okay, so you're the only person. Cool. That's cool. But Anyway, any other adventure stories or anything else you want to share?
Let me think. I don't know.
What's the best hunting trip that you like where you actually killed something? What's the best hunting trip that you've ever done? Because I just don't hunt. I would like to, but I don't.
I'm more into the best hunting trips that, I mean, I've got so many where we didn't kill anything.
Sure.
The first morning of a mule deer hunt in New Mexico, my friend Trey and I were surrounded by these mule deer. But we didn't know how mule deer acted. We didn't know that they were surrounding us because they were curious what we were versus we're used to a whitetail that as soon as it sees you, it's
Sure, it's
history,
gone.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, we did it, I don't know, probably 4 more years in a row and never got close to another mule deer. And we didn't shoot those because we were too we were too afraid to run them off if we moved.
Right. So you just sat there and watched them?
Those are mostly my hunting trips.
So
it's
you were
not
doing
killing something.
Yeah, so you were deer watching. You weren't actually deer hunting.
Deer searching. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So do you like when you deer hunt, do you hunt like in the blind? Like go sit up in the blind and just
It depends on where you are.
Okay.
Depends on where you are.
So
I don't enjoy that, and nobody does. But that's really the only way that you can hunt South Texas is out of deer blinds.
See, that's just boring to me. I'd rather like that's why really the like dove hunting, squirrel hunting, and then I went raccoon hunting one time with a dog, which was fantastic. That was incredible. Traipsing through the East Tennessee mountains in the middle of the night, you know, chasing these dogs that are chasing a raccoon. But that's what I really liked about squirrel hunting is just put a 22 on your shoulder and just
walk around
the woods.
Yeah.
Shoot. Like you're not sitting there waiting for something to come to you. That's yeah. So I don't know if I could sit in a blind. I think I'm too impatient. I don't know if I could pull that off. But anyway, what else you got?
Sauna.
All you know. All right. Well, that was good. That was fun. Good getting to hear about the adventures and the vacations. I take this time to again thank Jeff and team at Rat Hole Drilling. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast. And folks, we will catch you guys on the next one. See you later.